Now, let's move on to our third change. If you think the first and second changes are quite similar to each other, I wouldn't disagree, because they really are quite similar. But the third change is different. It focuses heavily on two specific roles within the framework. So there are two key roles here. Which two roles? The first one is what we refer to as leader, the strategic decision maker. And the second role is the practitioner or implementer. Practitioner. These two guides will show you specifically how to first build a one-page team. In the past, whenever someone heard one page, they'd ask, what's this one-page thing? What the heck are we? What the heck is one page? Wow, that's right. Many companies nowadays have a different mindset. Okay, we need a year. We need one page. So there's no need. Gary, no need to explain further what a one-pager is or how it works. We're all familiar with this. We know. Just show me how to create it. Times have changed. How should we address leadership? And how about the staff? He provides some clarification. Here we have a diagram. This diagram is from the 10th edition. It's also covered in section 9.2. However, it's not included in the core manual. Now, this diagram, he calls this the EA competency model. The EA competency model. Not a competency framework. It's called a competency model. Now, in this diagram, what do all these colorful sections represent? If you look at the top section, the top contains what we call general soft skills competencies. Things like people management, management techniques, and leadership abilities. The bottom part focuses on practical tools, templates, and skills related to process standardization. The key point is putting it into practice. As we discussed, strategic planning capabilities, and implementing the architecture. This diagram here shows a detailed, a simplified EA capability model. If you're in a leadership role, like a CIO, or CDO, COO, and so on, then you should use this diagram to create a roadmap. How long should we spend improving our EA capabilities? Let me give you an example. Like this. Teacher, my company already has EA, but it's not very well implemented. What should I do about it? If you ask me that, I'd say, could you evaluate your EA with a self-assessment? Self-assessment. So you completed your self-evaluation using the rubric I gave you, and you gave yourself a grade. The grade you gave. Let me ask you something. Did you give yourself at least a C? You said you didn't. Wow, listen. Anything below a C is a failing grade. A C is the minimum passing grade. So what will it be, a C? Or a B? A level 5 would be ideal. It's hard to say. That depends on your organization's maturity level. Your EA maturity level should align with your organization's maturity. Using this framework, you can create an EA maturity improvement roadmap. I've also included widely adopted architectural frameworks. These are based on ISO standards. The TOGAF book actually contains similar guidelines, but given ISO's authority, I'm following ISO instead. You can combine both TOGAF10 and ISO standards. Look at the standards, ISO/IEC 42020 and TOGAF10. And compare them. Previously, we had TOGAF9, 2 and ISO IEC 42010. So in our view, enterprise architecture, following ISO standards. Here's how the process works. The 6 core processes: architecture governance, architecture management, architecture conceptualization, architecture evaluation, architecture refinement, architecture support, comprising 37 activities, 37 key activities. For this section, we can combine it with the TOGAF content for a more complete picture. Which works better? Let's continue. We'll provide some guidelines on project identification. Let's say you want to work on an EA project. This was in version 9.2. You asked me about Professor Garrett's approach to EA projects. I explained that what you refer to as an EA project is actually called an architecture project, which differs from that previous project of yours. We call it an architecture project. I already explained that. How to handle an architecture project? The answer is to use TOGAF's ADM. More specifically, using phases through F of the ADM. These processes, when you apply this, the through F framework, and break it down properly, you'll grasp the concept of architectural projects. This was my teaching approach and the standard methodology. For any architectural project, you must first determine its boundaries. It's a three-dimensional 3D framework. This framework, time, breadth, depth. If this isn't clear, let me break it down. Let's say I'm planning X company's e-commerce business unit. 3-year strategic. This type of framework. That's the scope. That's how it was done. But in version 10, let me introduce some new updates. First, version 10 introduces. We've included several examples of the EA repository. The EA repository is basically a tool system. Version 10 introduces, for EA tools, a framework for organizing tool content. I'll show you a screenshot demonstrating the required tools. Within the tool, what components should be included. It will provide these explanations. As we just discussed, when you work on an architecture project, it can be divided into 3 scenarios. What are the 3 scenarios? The first scenario is when you create a top-level design. For example, if you're designing a top-level design for the company. So let's discuss how to approach enterprise architecture design project. There are 4 key steps to consider. First, assess the organizational context and capabilities. Perform comprehensive analysis based on the assessment. Define the target state methodology. Then implement the defined approach. Establish the architectural principles and target state framework. Now, regarding the implementation, what's the practical approach? Let's look at the strategic planning process. It provides relevant context. When it comes to top-level design, it's usually not too detailed. There are typically 2 approaches. The first method is start with your key drivers and establish your business priorities. From these priorities, identify the expected outcomes. From these outcomes, determine what capabilities are needed to support them. When analyzing business capabilities, we can identify key initiatives. From these, we can determine relevant KPIs and metrics. Performance outcomes. Here's an example. This helps you with strategic planning. Let's say you want to create a portfolio structure. Wow, that. What features does the app offer? It provides this corresponding feature. That's the Gantt chart. Gantt chart. I don't have time to examine it in detail right now. Let's say you just want to plan a portfolio. This type of EA project for your portfolio. This would be a perfect Gantt chart. It shows you exactly how to plan. You might say, I'm working on a project at the project level. The Gantt chart. Let me ask you, Professor, how to implement this Gantt chart in practice. I can make it more detailed. Take my current project. For BMW. It's an EA planning project. I'm working on BMW's new factory planning. Specifically, I'm handling the new factories. Automated production line planning. Here it is. I manage the automation systems for BMW's new production facility. This is how we implemented it. It consists of 4 components. Yes, 4 distinct elements. Each provides timely solutions with practical methodologies. This represents our 3rd major innovation. Specifically, we're offering comprehensive guidelines for executives and implementers. It's incredibly practical and effective. Let's move on to the next point.